Hello, I'm Dylan.
And I'm Keon.
And this is Trust Your Doctor, that podcast in 3D sound, because this week we watched Dimensions in Time.
Written by JNT and David Roden. No, just Roden.
Directed by Stuart McDonald.
And aired on 26 and 27 November 1993.
This was a mistake.
Doctor Who was a mistake.
Watching this was a mistake.
This is the culmination of 30 years of television. It was all leading up to this moment. Get your 3D glasses ready.
Oh boy. I think we should start by talking how this came to be.
I barely know because I didn't look up any behind-the-scenes info.
That's okay because I do know, and it's pretty dumb, to be honest. We can thank the TV movie for this sucking, pretty much. Basically, after the show went off air, the BBC was like, yeah, maybe we'll let some other studio make Doctor Who, and like we said in our It's Doctor episode, the one TV movie episode, what's his name, Seagal or whatever, with the Americans, he was trying to make Doctor Who about the same time, so the BBC was also planning this 30th anniversary celebration with the 5 living doctors coming back and doing battle with, I don't know, someone, the Master, I think.
The Ronnie, it turned out to be.
It was called The Dark Dimension, and it was going to be all a legitimate Doctor Who story, but as it turns out, the BBC is broke and couldn't pay any of the doctors to be on screen for more than 2 minutes, so they scrapped the entire thing. And also, Steven, or Seagal, or whatever his name is, with the Americans, was like, this is probably going to look bad on our attempted reboot of Doctor Who, so maybe you shouldn't do it. And the BBC was like, I guess you're right. I suppose you're the end-all guy on this discussion.
You're pretty much the expert on Doctor Who here.
Not like we made the show for 30 years, but, whatever. But then...
I mean, this was way worse than the TV movie, so maybe he was right.
So then the BBC was like, well, maybe we'll just put together some short little skit for children in need, just to acknowledge that the 30th anniversary is happening. So they approached JNT, who, had wanted to leave the show for 4 years when the show ended. And he was like, well, about that, no. And then they convinced him to come back, and he didn't want to write it because he doesn't know how to write. So apparently, for whatever reason, he was teaching screenwriting classes, even though he's barely written anything in his life. And he enlisted one of his students. Roden was one of his students who liked Doctor Who to come up with the story for this and to write it. And
he basically made it as fanficky as possible by including all the doctors and all the companions.
Well, so they wanted to include as many as possible because, 30th anniversary celebration, which,
might have been a good idea if it wasn't a 17-minute
Yeah, if
thing.
It wasn't 15 minutes of... They weren't even going to get 15 minutes originally. Originally, they were only going to get the 7 minutes they got for the actual Children in Need Day, and the JNT was like, that's not happening at all. The BBC was like, I guess we can give you 5 minutes on Noel's house party the next day.
Oh, God.
Originally, this was going to be filmed in 1 day because that's how they filmed all the Children in Need specials, apparently. But then JNT was like, that's also not happening.
Felt like it was filmed in 1 day.
I think it was filmed in 2 or 3. Very quickly.
Surprising. Yeah, very quickly. Not on the first take all the time, but obviously they didn't give a crap if bystanders walked through the shot.
Well, okay, for some baffling reason, when Roden pitched the story, the BBC was like, so to save money, we think you should do it on the EastEnders set and cross over with EastEnders. That way, we don't have to build new sets for this. And they were like, well, I don't know if we can make that work, but I guess we can try. So they did. Apparently, the original version of the script had the Master, but they couldn't get Anthony Ainley back, so they called up Kate O'Mara and was like, "Hey, want to reprise that role you played twice?" At some point, they were thinking about scrapping the EastEnders crossover too, so Roden started working on a new idea where it was going to be the five doctors battling the Celestial Toymaker in an amusement park. But that probably would have been garbage too if it was only 15 minutes long.
Also
So,
got made like 10 years later. Well, with just the Sixth Doctor.
yeah, the Nightmare Fair. Suspiciously similar premise. But yeah,
Maybe
also...
Roden just took this from the unwritten version from the early 80s or whenever it was.
Well, apparently he did nick some ideas from the Dark Dimension for this, like the weird technobabble time vortex nonsense. But anyway, also, a lot of stuff had to be cut or changed because of the 3D. Apparently they used like a gimmick 3D called I think the Pulfrich effect, which is where if the camera is constantly moving and you tint one eye, it looks 3D, so you don't need to wear like red blue glasses. It'll just look 3D if you slightly tint one eye, because the tinted eye will receive the visual information like milliseconds after the non-tinted eye, so everything will look 3D. But if you watch it in 2D, it'll still look normal, which is why the camera is constantly moving in this, which is really irritating, by the way, like when it's circling around the Doctor. So that's all the pre-production information. Oh yeah, fun story. Apparently Sylvester McCoy showed up hungover to the day of filming because he went out drinking the night before.
Nice.
Honestly, I don't blame him. Apparently all the actors did this for free, according to the union rules, which is also why this has never been released on DVD, was because it was made for a charity telethon. So under the rules of the union, at least this is my understanding of it, it could be wrong. Under the rules of the union, they did the work for free, but they couldn't commercialize the product at the end of it, so it's never been released on DVD, and it was or VHS, and it was only ever aired once. So all the versions that are floating around online are bootleg copies that people recorded on their VHS recorders in '93.
Well, I mean, this is the Star Wars Holiday Special of Doctor Who, so...
And also all those extras that I found that we watched must have been leaked by someone in the BBC or aired in some other unrelated special, because I don't feel like those were ever formally released either.
What had that, like... the
time code on it.
Yeah, and also had, like, the BBC intro-outro thing.
Oh, yeah.
Which I guess leads into a commercial. I don't know, though, so whatever. Anyway, it starts with Noel's house party.
Yeah, so the version we watched has all the little intro and outro bits from the Children in Need special and also the Noel's house party. So the first part, which
I didn't know about Noel's house party until I watched this.
Neither did I.
I'm probably not going to watch it, ever.
Well,
don't really understand what it is.
So I guess...
And, yeah, I guess it's just a variety show.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess
Set
Noel
in the fictional
housed...
town of Crinkly Bottom.
Yeah. As we found out from Wikipedia not 8 minutes ago. I guess Noel hosted the Children in Need special in '93, because the first part of this takes place, was aired during the actual telethon, which, if you don't know, the Children in Need telethon, it's a telethon where they try to raise money for charity through TV programs.
And pocket all the money themselves. No.
No, it actually all does go to charity, as far as I know. Doctor Who's actually participated in Children in Need before with the 5 Doctors, if you remember way back. So, anyway, they...
Noel gets a surprise visitor.
It's John Pertwee! In a purple velvet coat.
And they have some quote-unquote funny quips back and forth.
The only funny bit of this was when Noel was like, my eyesight's getting bad, I need to see the doctor, and he opens the door, and there's John Pertwee, and I was like, that's kind of funny, and then the rest of it just went all downhill.
No, it wasn't funny.
It was chuckle-worthy.
There's only one funny part in the entire thing, in my opinion. Well, 2 if you count the behind-the-scenes thing, where they filmed the alternate version of that scene, in case people... Yeah, we'll get there.
Well, I also thought in the actual Noel's house party, so in part 2, Noel they put on their 3D glasses, and there's just this awkward silence for like 10 seconds, and then Noel's like, better be good if we're gonna look this dumb.
Yeah, that wasn't that funny.
It was funny because it wasn't good. Anyway, yeah, so
they start rolling the episode, quote unquote.
well, we get some heavy 90s version of the intro theme. Oh yeah, funny story about the intro theme. They wanted to get the Pet Shop Boys to do the theme, who are a pretty famous British band.
It's like a boy band, right? I vaguely know.
No?
No? I don't know.
I don't think so.
All right, yeah, I don't know. I just vaguely heard of them, so.
No, they do like synth stuff.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't know who they were.
Anyway, they were busy, so just some extra who worked on this production had a band called Cybertech brought in his demo tape of the theme, and they were like, brilliant, we'll use it. It doesn't have the middle 8, by the way, which is still the best part of the theme, so it's already garbage. Yeah, so title sequence, Dimensions in Time. Start with 7th Doctor and Ace get out of the TARDIS at this wharf, I guess.
Yeah, apparently it's a famous ship called the, I'm forgetting, Cutty Sark, I think it was.
I think so.
I think I've heard of that before, although maybe I haven't. I don't know. I think it's a famous thing.
I don't know.
Yeah, I really don't know what it is, but they're there. And it's not where they plan to be, and the 7th Doctor's like, something weird is going on here. And that's basically what happens for the next 15 minutes. It's just, something weird is going on here.
We get the...
Yeah, we get the Ronnie. She has a new companion. Well, she has a companion, which is a first for the TV show.
Yeah, apparently they wanted to get Ian McKellen to play the companion, so they named him, like, Kellen or something. And then Ian McKellen was like, no! So they had to get somebody else.
He has, like, no lines.
Yeah.
The only thing he does is he removes a panel from the Ronnie's TARDIS wall, and, like, a Time Lord is just standing there, and the Cybermen also is just standing there, too. There's a bunch of callbacks to previous villains from the show, like the alien from Dragonfire. And there's another really obscure one I'm forgetting right now. It'll come to me.
There were a lot of obscure ones.
Yeah, they were all standing in the windows of apartments.
Yeah,
weird.
later on. We're not there yet. We haven't mentioned the Ronnie's plan, so apparently the Ronnie's captured the 1st and 2nd Doctors, which is really just a convenient way to say the actors are dead and we don't want to recast them for 15 minutes.
Yeah, she has them trapped in some alternate space, and their heads are like floating and orbiting around this thing, and yeah, it looked like they were wearing 5 pounds of makeup and eyeliner.
That's because they were busts. They couldn't use still images of the actors because, like I said, the Pulfrich effect required everything to be constantly moving and in 3D, so they had to use busts. We actually forgot to mention what it actually starts with, which is Tom Baker.
Oh, yeah!
Tom Baker's one of 2 appearances in this story. Because he hardcore phones it in, more so than he used to.
Apparently he has a shaved head for this also.
Yeah. Of all the Doctors, he's the one who looks least like what he looked like on the show, which is impressive because John Pertwee's in this.
Yeah, so Tom Baker is in this alternate space.
He's been captured by the Ronnie already, I guess. I don't know.
Conveniently, he has a mic that can broadcast to all his other selves.
He's in the BBC recording center.
And he's like, hey guys, gotta watch out for that Ronnie.
Apparently none of the other Doctors get this message because the Doctor's really surprised when the Ronnie shows up later, so, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's, I mean, he never really acted on the show, but it actually seems like in this he's actively trying not to act. It's really bad.
Yeah. Yeah, it is really bad.
But yeah, so then all the stuff happens. The Ronnie explains her plan, which is apparently, based on what Ace says later, she has the genetic code of every single living being in the universe.
Yeah, not sure how Ace and the 7th Doctor found this out, because they were kind of just stuck in the time loop thing for the entire time, and they just bring it up at the end. Yeah,
well, so later on they seem to imply / state that every time the Doctor and Companion changed, they would just retain the memories of the previous
Yeah.
version they were
Yep.
in, which
Yeah,
makes literally zero sense. But
there was also that awesome effect when they transition.
do you notice how the effect was super off-center to the left, so you
Yeah.
could see the bottom right corner of the screen
Yeah.
every time the effect happened? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, did notice that.
I think the first change happens now, but this change not only changes the Doctor and his companion, but also somehow shifts them into Albert Square, the fictional setting of EastEnders.
Yeah, it changes them into another, changes the Doctor into another version of himself, which
To the sixth one, I
I
think.
guess kind of makes sense, but it also transforms the companion into another companion.
Yeah. I think it becomes... Ace becomes Mel, I think, first. I don't remember, to be honest.
The companion usually matches the Doctor that they were with, but not always. Not always.
Yeah.
Considering Victoria is with like the third Doctor, I think.
I think so.
No, I think she was with the sixth Doctor.
No, Susan was with the sixth Doctor.
Huh. Oh yeah, yeah. Okay.
Victoria was with the
Victoria was-
seventh, maybe?
Well, okay.
The third. No, she was with the third. The third Doctor was running down the gangplank of the boat,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Victoria
alright.
was... I think that was the third Doctor.
Yeah, I guess now that I think about it, they just took all the first and second Doctor companions and put them with other Doctors, so I guess it isn't that out of place.
Yeah, apparently Fraser Hines was going to be in this, I think where Susan was, but he had a last minute commitment, like a couple days before they were going to film, something came up.
Nice.
But luckily J&T was able to get Caroline Ford on super short notice to come in and fill in, so that was nice. I mean, it was nice seeing everybody again.
It's just that they
It
didn't really
sucked.
they didn't look like how they looked on the show. They didn't make an effort to look how they looked like on the show. They didn't act like how they acted on the show. They were kind of just there, and it was really hard to tell who some of them were, like the ones who aged a lot, like Victoria and Caroline Ford.
Yeah, to an extent, it was kind of depressing seeing that all these people, had aged and just...
Well, I mean, that people age, so that part wasn't
yeah.
depressing. It's just like they didn't even make an effort to for anything really. They were just kind of there. They had their like 3 seconds on screen. I don't blame the actors much, but
No.
yeah.
I mean, they did it just... It seems like everybody honestly just did this for the hell of it.
Yeah.
And honestly, if I had the opportunity to do something like that, I totally would too, even if it sucked. So,
Yeah,
I
probably.
don't blame any of these people.
Yeah, I guess I don't either. Anyway, they kind of just transform and
so
shift
this-
through time.
I remember the Sixth Doctor having a supposedly witty line. Mel's gonna buy some coat from some presumably famous EastEnders character, but hell if I can name any of the characters from EastEnders from 1993.
No, I can't. So yeah.
And then Colin Baker's like, it clashes. Actually, I think that was Ace.
I wouldn't know.
Honestly, I don't remember what companion got with who. Well, I know what companion was with which Doctor, but I don't remember what order they were in.
Yeah, no. Because it was so quick. Like each scene was only like 15 seconds. So
Yeah, and the Seventh Doctor only shows up at the beginning and the end, and that was because he couldn't film on the day that they were actually in the Albert Square set, which is why the TARDIS is also like miles away. Because he could only film the next day, and the next day they didn't have the Albert Square set, so they filmed him at apparently just a park somewhere based on the set.
yeah, it was really annoying. I didn't know if they did this on purpose or not, but it doesn't matter whether they did this on purpose or not because it was bad either way. Is that they got extras or just people walking through the shot to just walk through.
Oh god.
Yeah.
The extras, I mean not the extras, the people, the extras that we watched were pretty funny.
Yeah.
We'll get to those when we finish describing the what little plot. There's like 10 seconds of plot in this 15-minute.
Anyway, at the end of part one, it returns to Noel's house party, and Noel, I guess his name, I guess that's Noel.
Yeah, it's Noel Howard.
He notifies the audience and viewers that they can phone in and vote who saves the Doctor in the next part.
Okay, so I thought this was going to be a big part in part 2.
Yeah, I did too.
But we'll get there. So we should mention what companions and doctors show up in the first part, because I haven't mentioned all of them. So Sarah shows up.
If I remember.
Well, Sarah shows up, meets up with the third Doctor.
She's wearing the
Hand of Fear
overalls outfit.
From what I could find out from the production, if they still had the costume for the actor/actress, they gave it to them, but otherwise they just found something vaguely similar to what they wore in the show in the BBC costume department and gave it to them, which is why Leela's costume looks nothing like anything she wore in the show, ever. But yeah, so Sarah Jane shows up, Susan shows up with the Sixth Doctor and complains about him not being her doctor, so to speak. Nyssa and Perry show up together with the Fifth Doctor, and I didn't realize that was supposed to be Nyssa at all until I looked at the credits and was like, oh, that's Nyssa!
Nyssa!
Liz shows up, amazingly.
Yeah, didn't recognize Liz at all.
Didn't recognize her. She was in second part and makes the most questionable decision in the entire thing, which is impressive.
I probably wouldn't have recognized Perry either if it wasn't for her accent.
Yeah. Yeah, her hair was longer than it normally is on the show, which threw me for a loop. Anyway, yeah, so the vote is between two EastEnders characters, Big Ron or... I don't remember the other one. I just remember Big Ron because he had a nickname. It was Big Ron.
The other one was a little girl.
It's like Martha or something.
Well, I thought she was a little girl based on the picture they showed at the end, but then apparently she's like a teenager based on part 2.
Yeah. Well, so when people called in, they could make a donation to children in need. And apparently...
But you don't have to. You don't
have to.
Yeah.
Although calls would cost 35 pence. I don't know if you saw that at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
The next day, Noel Howard's like, so voting raised £110,000, which is a lot of money in 1993, and a lot of money for a 15-minute short. So
yeah, so then he goes on to explain how they rigged the votes, and no,
but
no.
Big Ron's saving was way better than Martha's, even though they were both garbage.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so what happens is at the end of part 1, the Fifth Doctor dramatically turns and does the Fifth Doctor thing where he stares into the camera at the end of the part, because he's discovered it's the Rani, and she. In part 1, also there was the shot of the Rani releases all her monsters to terrorize the Doctor, and they just all stand there and watch him as he runs through Albert Square.
There's an Ogron. There's
an Ogron with 90s rocker hair. This groupie Ogron. The dragon from Dragonfire's in the window. I thought that was kind of weird.
There's another really obscure monster in a window. I'm trying to remember which one it was.
They cut the appearance of the Daleks, which is weird because the Daleks are the most famous Doctor Who villain. Although there's a Time Lord, those really well-known and hard-hitting villains.
Yeah. Definitely always antagonists. Actually, they almost always are, but, those iconic Time Lord villains. Okay, anyway.
And then the Fifth Doctor turns into the Third Doctor with Liz, and... Jeez, this scene was so bad in an entire serial of bad things, but the Rani's like, you, Earth Girl, come here. And then Liz just charges the Rani. The Doctor's like, no, Liz, don't do it. And she's like, I'll handle this. And she just puts her head down and runs at the Rani. It's like, what the hell is happening?
So the character that people voted for is the one who saves Liz, I guess.
By saves, it
just kind of runs awkwardly up to the Rani.
And it's like, hey, don't do that.
And they just sort of stand there for 5 seconds and they run away.
Oh, no. Should have been Big Ron.
Yeah,
At least when Big Ron did it. Okay, so Big Ron's version of the saving was in the extras. At least when Big Ron did it, he actually acted
Well,
scared of the Ronnie's gun.
kind of. More so than what's her face,
Yeah.
but not really. The thing is, the reason why I thought the Big Ron version was just slightly better was that I understood what it was. Like, because in the actual version that was part of the actual episode, I guess you can call it an episode, I didn't really get what that was until like 10 seconds after the fact. I was like, oh, that's the girl that they voted
Yeah,
in.
me too.
I mean, but in Big Ron's, if it were Big Ron, I would have been like, oh, it's Big Ron.
Maybe because Big Ron's just so recognizable. Because that picture they showed of the girl, and then the actual girl just looks like every other girl in Albert Square, apparently. Oh, there's a lot of weird cutaways to EastEnders characters making references that I didn't understand at all.
Yeah, some kid steals an orange or something.
Yeah, and they're like, hey, you kid, come back here, Aladdin. He's like, gotta
Check
stay
out our
one
Aladdin
jump.
episode of Triple Play, our other podcast.
Yeah, I remember that because the third Doctor makes a really third Doctor-ish comment when she's like, you gonna buy something? He's like, considering the quality of the merchandise you're selling here, I don't think I should buy anything.
Yeah, apparently that scene takes place in 2013.
The wiki is like EastEnders fans. There are like 10 of them there are. Don't consider this canon because it apparently says one of the characters is still alive in 2013, but on the actual show she dies in 2006. So, you know.
Anyway, they kind of just keep transforming and running around for another 5 or so minutes.
Well, okay, so
The monsters get unleashed and...
Bessie shows up with
Oh yeah, Bessie shows up.
Yates?
Yeah, I think that was just supposed to be a generic unit soldier, but it kind of looked like Yates.
See, I thought it was supposed to be either Yates or Benton, but then when they got
Doesn't look like
close up,
Benton at all.
they got close up and he bared no resemblance to either of them except kind of Yates. And I was like, it's either supposed to be Yates or just some rando.
Yeah, pretty sure it's just some rando, but I'll just go ahead and imagine it's Yates because they kind of looked similar.
And then we get the Brigadier
Flying in and
on the helicopter. Pretty heroically, actually. Pretty sure Nicholas Courtney acts the most out of everybody in this story.
Probably.
Yeah, JNT apparently specifically wrote in a scene between the Sixth Doctor and the Brigadier because they never met on screen. So.
Yeah, that's what I was assuming. I didn't read that, but apparently I was right yet again. No.
Nice. You did it.
And then eventually the Seventh Doctor and Ace find out what the Ronnie is doing.
But not before...
I guess just by guessing completely correctly.
But not before the Doctor runs into Leela.
Yeah, Leela. Doesn't Leela actually tell him? Pretty sure Leela is like, hey, Doctor, this is what's going on.
Yeah, because she was Romana when...
they drag her into like a pub or something.
Yeah, Romana showed up without the Doctor somehow. And then they like take her
Romana
bioprint and then she transforms into Leela. So, yeah, this is also something I didn't get. All the companions are supposed to be, I guess, Ace, but transformed into the form of the other companions. But it was kind of weird when they were...
really.
Yeah, but not really, because when they were Susan, they were like, who are you? You're not my grandfather.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of weird. But anyway, yeah, Leela's like, oh, I was Romana when she captured my bioprint. Oh, yeah, K9 shows up. With the Seventh Doctor for some reason.
So it was all worth it. K9's still one of my favorite companions.
Apparently, there's a canon-ish, I guess, story that states that the Seventh Doctor built another version of K9, and that's this K9. Because there's another, like, charity special that has the Seventh Doctor, Ace, and K9. And that's this K9, apparently. There's also another story that implies this entire thing was a dream, and you know what? I'm just gonna buy into that because there's no other explanation I can find.
Actually does seem pretty dreamlike, bouncing around from location to location, people just changing on a dime.
Yeah.
Not really much rhyme or reason to anything happening. But
the Doctor's solution to the plot was even more nonsensical than it usually is.
Yeah, because they just run into the Ronnie's TARDIS, and it's disguised as, like, a statue or something.
Apparently because the Ronnie's got 2 time brains in her collection, that's gonna cause a problem of some sort.
You got me. They find out she's been storing the genetic information of every living thing in the universe or something. And they're like, "Nuh-uh, Ronnie."
Yeah, the doctor's like, evolution will be hers to control. I'm like, that's not how that works at all. Apparently, the third, fifth, and sixth Doctor just pushed a lot of the technobabble lines onto Sylvester. They're like, yeah, we don't need to say that. Sylvester can say that. So that's why he gets a lot of the weird and confusing lines.
So they bombed Ronnie's TARDIS.
Yeah. She's
And it
like,
works.
no.
And they leave.
Yeah, the Doctor and the seventh Doctor and Ace leave.
The end. But until then, the end. You know,
Not yet.
no, we still
We're
have
going to
the...
talk about those extras. The best part of this.
Yeah, so they're mainly just bloopers / outtakes.
Yeah, John Pertwee swears a couple times.
Yeah, has a real hard time getting his line in that
Kind
one
of pulling
scene.
a heart now.
Yeah.
Except I don't think William Hart ever swore on camera. At least I don't think he did.
Probably not. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, Sylvester McCoy apparently keeps a copy of the script in his pocket at one point. He just pulls it out and he's like, well, I said that line right. And he reads it and he's like, yeah, I said it right.
Yeah, it kind of felt like all the actors learned their lines 5 minutes before they recorded.
I mean, honestly, probably. Sophie Aldred also swears in the bloopers reel.
Yeah, because at the end when they're going back into the TARDIS, they're carrying some junk. And, she almost drops it.
Well, she does drop a lot of it on one of the takes, and one of it kind of wedges her arm between the door, and she's like, ah, shit. And then she asks Sylvester to take it off, and he's like, oh yeah, I got you.
But the best part of the extras was the cut scene with Big Ron, because obviously they went with the other person.
I mean, my favorite part of the extras was the very last extra. And it's okay. So at the end, for whatever reason, they start playing this really intense music and cutting really quickly between bloopers, because at the beginning they were just like showing the bloopers in their entirety and all the outtakes and everything, and then at the end they were just cutting through them really quick with intense music, and then it ends and there's one final scene, and it's, I guess the director, somebody comes on, and he talks to Kate O'Mara.
I saw JNT for the first time. I never knew what he looked like until now.
We forgot the extra where the one guy just walks up to the TARDIS door and fixes it in the back of the shot. Anyway, somebody comes up to Kate O'Mara and is like, all right, not so camp on the end of the line this time. And he leaves, and Kate O'Mara turns around and she's like, not so camp? Man, I thought this was a camp program. I've been under this disillusion for years now.
You mean illusion?
No, she says disillusion.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Doesn't really make sense. But, whatever.
Apparently, that set, the TARDIS set that Ronnie's using, well, we mentioned that the TARDIS set was scrapped off the Greatest Show in the Galaxy on accident, so they didn't have a TARDIS set, but they had the console, so they put the console into a TARDIS set they built for a convention that was like the week after they filmed this.
Yeah, it didn't look, because the Ronnie's TARDIS always looked really cool, the times that we'd seen it, and this didn't look like it at all. Just looked like a worse version of the Doctor's TARDIS. So, yeah.
Because it kind of was.
Yeah.
It was the Doctor's console in a convention console room. Oh yeah, the fourth Doctor shows up right at the end to say like "good job" or something, but I don't think any of the Doctors got that message either. Maybe they're all just selectively ignoring the fourth Doctor.
That's what I do. No, I don't.
Anyway.
Yeah, Dimensions in Time.
That was a real big disaster of an episode that was.
Surprised we got 30 minutes out of it.
Yeah, we talked about it longer than the actual thing went on for.
Yep.
Email us at thedoctor@decorativevegetable.com. Questions, comments, concerns, angry rants, love letters, your thoughts on Dimensions in Time. The greatest Doctor Who story ever told. We're almost at the reboot. Only 2 weeks to go. Tell all your friends. You can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. All at Trust Your Doctor. Leave a rating if you liked the show.
Check us out on Facebook, Trust Your Doctor. Like us on Facebook. Also check us out on Twitter at TYD Podcast, and follow us on Twitter And next time, we're watching The Curse of Fatal Death. But until then, the end.